My family clapped when my father shoved me into the pool at my sister's $1 million wedding. They thought it was entertainment. They didn't know my secret husband, a man they'd only seen on magazine covers, was diverting his private jet right then. They laughed when I walked in alone, never suspecting that I wasn't there to beg for acceptance this time. I was there to take back everything they had stolen from me. My name is Riley Ashford. I am 32 years old, and right now, I am the definition of a walking disaster in the eyes of the most judgmental zip code in Texas. I am stepping out of a black sedan that smells faintly of pine air freshener and shame. It is not the limousine my father hired for the VIP guests, nor is it one of the vintage Rolls-Royces parked along the crushed limestone driveway. It is a standard rideshare, and the driver looked at me with pity when he dropped me off at the iron gates of the Ashford estate. The heat in Austin is oppressive today, a humid blanket that clings to your skin the moment you leave the air conditioning, but you would never know it by looking at the people on the lawn. They look preserved in ice and money. My sister's wedding was never going to be just a wedding. It is a merger. It is a coronation. It is a theatrical production costing nearly $1 million, designed to show the world that the Ashfords have officially ascended to the throne of Texas society. I smooth down my dress. It is a deep emerald silk. Elegant but understated. Something I stitched myself in my studio in New York. To anyone else, it looks like high fashion. To my family, it looks like defiance. I walk toward the garden entrance. The sound of a string quartet drifts through the air, playing something classical and aggressively tasteful. The lawn is a sea of white tents and crystal glassware. Waiters in white tuxedo jackets move like ghosts between clusters of guests holding champagne flutes that probably cost more than my first car. I take a breath. I step onto the grass. The silence does not happen all at once. It ripples outward from the entrance, a wave of turning heads and lowered sunglasses. I am alone. My left hand is clutching my beaded clutch so hard my knuckles are white. My right arm is empty. I can hear them. The whispers are not even subtle. Is she seriously here by herself? I thought she said she was bringing someone. Typical Riley. Always has to be the odd one out. I keep my chin up. I learned a long time ago that if you look at the ground, they take it as an admission of guilt. I scan the crowd and spot the center of the universe. My sister, Madison. She looks breathtaking. I have to admit that she is wearing a custom couture gown with a train that seems to go on for miles, standing under a floral arch that probably required the sacrifice of an entire greenhouse. Beside her is Preston Hale. He is the golden boy. He has that specific look of a man who has never heard the word no in his entire life. Blonde, tanned, with a jawline that screams old money and a trust fund managed by Hale Properties. Preston leans down and whispers something into Madison's ear. He nods in my direction. Madison's smile falters. It is a micro-expression, a tiny crack in the porcelain perfection, but I see it. They both look at me. It is not pity. It is annoyance. It is the look you give a waiter who dropped a fork during a toast. Madison excuses herself from a circle of admirers and beelines for me. She moves fast, her dress rustling like angry paper. She grabs my elbow and steers me toward the edge of the rose garden, away from the main thoroughfare of guests. "Where is he?" she hisses. Her voice is low, tight with repressed fury. "Hello to you too. Madison, you look beautiful," I say, trying to keep my voice level. "Cut the crap, Riley," she snaps, her nails digging into my arm through the silk. "You promised. You specifically said you were bringing a +1. You said you were bringing the mystery boyfriend so everyone would finally stop talking about how pathetic you are." "Things changed," I say. "Plans changed." "Plans changed?" Madison looks like she is about to scream, but she remembers the photographer is 20 feet away, so she forces a wide, fake smile while her eyes burn holes into me. "Do you have any idea how bad this looks? The Hales are here. Riley, Richard and Valerie Hale are sitting right there. They already think our family is a little new money for their taste. Now they are going to think we have a defective daughter who cannot even get a date for her own sister's wedding." "I am not defective. Madison, I am just alone. There is a difference. Not in this world. There isn't, she spits back. You promised. Riley, you said he was real. The memory hits me like a physical blow. 2 weeks ago, I was in my apartment in Brooklyn, holding the phone away from my ear because my mother's laugh was piercing my eardrum. Oh, Riley, honey, Elise had said, her voice dripping with that poisonous southern sweetness. Another serious boyfriend? Is this one invisible like the one in college? Or is he just too busy to meet us like the painter? He is real. Mom, I had said, my hand shaking as I gripped the phone. He is successful. He is important. I am sure he is, she laughed, a dry, dismissive sound. Just do not make things up to make yourself feel better. Sweetie, it is sadder when you try so hard. Just come alone. We are used to it. That was the moment I snapped. The lie fell out of my mouth before I could stop it. He is not invisible. He is currently in Europe on business, but he is flying his private jet straight to Austin just to be there. He wants to meet you. The silence on the other end had been golden. I had bought myself 2 weeks of peace with a lie the size of a Gulf Stream. Back in the garden, the peace is over. Well, Madison demands, is the jet invisible too? Before I can answer, a shadow falls over us. It is my father, Leonard Ashford. He looks immaculate in his bespoke tuxedo, the very picture of the benevolent patriarch of the Ashford urban group, but I know the signs. I see the sweat beading on his upper lip. I see the frantic darting of his eyes. He has just come from the VIP table. He has just been talking to Richard Hale. What is going on here? Leonard demands. Stepping between us, he keeps his voice down, but the vein in his forehead is throbbing. I look over, and I see the bride looking upset. Why is the bride upset? Riley? She is here alone, Daddy, Madison says, her voice turning into a whine instantly. She lied. There is no boyfriend. There is no jet. She just wanted attention. Leonard turns to me. The look on his face is not anger. It is pure disgust. It is the look a man gives a bad investment that he cannot sell off. Is this true? He asks. He got delayed. I stammer. It is weak, and I know it. Leonard laughs. It is a bark of a sound, devoid of humor. He looks over his shoulder. Richard and Valerie Hale are watching us. They are sipping champagne and judging. Leonard feels their gaze like a physical weight. He needs this wedding. He needs the Hale connection to secure the downtown zoning permits he has been chasing for 5 years. I am a glitch in his perfectly coded program. Delayed, Leonard repeats, louder this time. He steps back, raising his voice so the nearby tables can hear. Did you hear that? Everyone? Riley's imaginary billionaire got delayed. He is doing it on purpose. He is controlling the narrative. If he makes me the joke, he separates himself from my failure. He is signaling to the Hales, I am not like her. She is the outlier. I am with you. Dad, stop, I say, my face burning. Why should I stop? Leonard booms. He is performing now. He spreads his arms, addressing the guests who have stopped talking to watch the show. 32 years old. We give her everything. Education, opportunities, support. And what does she bring to the biggest day of our family's history? Nothing. Not a husband, not a fiancé, not even a date for one night. A ripple of laughter goes through the crowd. It is cruel, high-pitched laughter. They love this. It is dinner theater. She is a textile restorer, Leonard mocks, making air quotes with his fingers. She sews old rags in a basement in New York, and she has to invent men just to feel relevant. My heart is hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I look at my mother, Elise, standing a few feet away. She is clutching her pearl necklace, her eyes wide. She does not step forward. She does not tell him to stop. She just looks at me with that same disappointment she has worn since the day I decided I did not want to be a trophy wife. Something inside me breaks, or maybe it hardens. I straighten my back. I am 5'7", and in my heels. I am almost eye level with my father. I am not a joke, Dad, I say. My voice is clear. It cuts through the humid air. And I am done being your punching bag to make you feel big in front of your rich friends. The silence that follows is absolute. Nobody talks back to Leonard Ashford, not his employees, not his wife, and certainly not his failure of a daughter. Leonard's face turns a shade of purple I have never seen before. The mask of the charming host slips completely. He steps into my personal space, his breath smelling of scotch and expensive cigars. "How dare you?" he snarls. "You ungrateful little brat. You are ruining your sister's perfect day. You are embarrassing me in front of the Hales." "You are embarrassing yourself," I say. He snaps. It happens in slow motion. I see his hand come up. He does not strike me. He grabs my upper arm, his fingers digging into the soft flesh so hard it is going to bruise. "Get out of my sight," he yells. He shoves me. He does not just push me away, he shoves me backward with the full force of his rage. He forgets where we are standing, or maybe he does not care. My heels scramble for purchase on the smooth grass. They find nothing. My left foot hits the raised stone coping of the massive marble fountain that serves as the centerpiece of the garden. I trip. I go backward. The sky spins, a blur of blue and white tents. The impact is shocking. I hit the water hard. It is not a gentle splash. It is a violent immersion. The water is freezing cold, shocking the breath out of my lungs. I go under completely. The chlorinated water filling my nose. My heavy silk dress soaks up the water instantly, turning into a lead weight dragging me down. I thrash, finding the bottom, and push myself up. I breach the surface, gasping for air. Water is streaming down my face. My hair is plastered to my skull. My mascara is running into my eyes, stinging them. I am standing in waist-deep water in the middle of a fountain, surrounded by 300 of the wealthiest people in Texas. I freeze. I wait for the gasp. I wait for someone to rush forward. I wait for my mother to scream. But there is only silence for one heartbeat, 2 heartbeats. Then, Leonard speaks. He looks down at me from the dry safety of the grass, adjusting his cufflinks. "Well," he announces, his voice booming with false conviviality, "looks like she needed to cool off a little bit." And then, the sound that will haunt me for the rest of my life begins. Applause. Someone starts clapping, then someone else laughs, and then the whole garden joins in. They are clapping, they are laughing. They think it is a bit. They think my humiliation is a scheduled part of the festivities. I stand there, shivering uncontrollably, the cold water seeping into my bones. I look at Madison. She has her hand over her mouth, but her eyes are dancing. She is relieved. The attention is back on the spectacle, and she is safe. I look at my mother. She has turned away to order a fresh drink. I look at Leonard. He is grinning at Richard Hale, shrugging his shoulders as if to say, "Kids, what can you do?" Slowly, I wipe the water from my face. I do not cry. The tears are there, burning behind my eyes, but I will not let them fall. Not here, not now. I look at my father. I look at my sister. I sweep my gaze across the sea of laughing faces. I smile. It is not a nice smile. It is a smile that feels like a blade between my teeth. "Remember this moment," I say. My voice is not loud, but in the sudden lull of the laughter, it carries. "Everyone, look at me. Remember this moment." The walk from the fountain to the main house is the longest journey of my life. Every step is a humiliation. My shoes, Italian leather that I saved for 3 months to buy, squelch loudly with every step. The water dripping from the hem of my emerald dress leaves a dark, erratic trail on the pristine limestone pavers. I am shaking, not just from the sudden chill of the water against my skin in the air-conditioned breeze coming off the lake, but from a rage so cold it feels like hypothermia. I do not look back. I know what is happening behind me. The laughter has died down into a low, buzzing hum of gossip. They are dissecting the moment. They are analyzing the angle of my fall, the ruin of my hair, the look on my father's face. To them, I am a subplot. I am the comic relief in the grand tragedy of the Ashford dynasty. I slip through the French doors into the air-conditioned hallway of the estate, hugging my arms around my chest. The sudden drop in temperature makes my teeth chatter. I need to get away. I need to hide. As I move through the corridors of the house I grew up in, the ghosts of my childhood rise up to meet me. This house was never really a home. It was a showroom, just like us. To understand why my father just pushed me into a fountain, you have to understand the Ashford Urban Group. My father, Leonard, built the company on a foundation of aggressive zoning appeals and cost-cutting construction. He specializes in high-density urban housing in Texas. He builds tall, shiny boxes that look expensive from the street, but have walls so thin you can hear your neighbor sneeze. His philosophy for business is the same as his philosophy for family. Curb appeal is everything. If it looks rich, it is rich. If it looks successful, the structural integrity does not matter. I was the crack in the foundation. Madison was the facade. My sister was engineered to be the perfect Ashford. From the time she was 5, she was placed in pageants, then debate club, then the right sorority. She was the captain of the debate team, the girl who got into a prestigious law school on the first try, the one whose name was always spoken with a puffed-up chest at the cocktail parties Elise threw every Friday. Dinner conversations revolved around Madison's mock trial victories or her networking events with junior partners. She was the asset. I was the liability. I chose art, or rather, I chose preservation. To my parents, my career is a joke. They tell their friends I am into sewing or crafts. They do not understand that textile conservation is a science. It is chemistry. It is history. It is the delicate, surgical restoration of fabrics that are hundreds of years old. I work with microscopes and chemical solvents, analyzing dye compositions and weave structures to save tapestries that hung in European castles before America was even a concept. It requires patience, precision, and a deep respect for the past. 3 things Leonard Ashford has never possessed. I remember the day I realized I would never be enough for him. It was 4 years ago. I had just finished my master's degree. I had a business plan for a private conservation studio in New York. I needed a loan, not a gift, a loan. I had drawn up a repayment schedule with interest. I put on my best blazer and walked into his study, presenting the binder with trembling hands. Leonard did not even open it. He sat behind his mahogany desk, swirling a glass of amber liquid, and looked at me with a half-smile that cut deeper than a knife. "Riley," he had said, sliding the binder back across the desk without touching it, "I do not burn money on your little hobbies. If you want to play seamstress, go work at a dry cleaner. The Ashford Urban Group invests in the future, not in old rags." I walked out of that office with my binder and my pride in shreds. 2 weeks later, he wrote a check for $150,000 to cover Madison's tuition, a new luxury SUV for her commute, and the deposit on a penthouse apartment near her law school. He called it an investment in human capital. And then there is Elise, my mother. If Leonard is the hammer, Elise is the velvet pillow he strikes. She plays the role of the peacemaker, but silence is her weapon. As I hurry down the hallway, leaving wet footprints on the Persian runners, I can hear her voice in my head from 1,000 different arguments. "Just be reasonable. Riley, don't make it hard for your father. You know how much stress he is under. Don't make your sister look bad." She turned my sacrifice into my duty. Every time Leonard cut me down, she would find me later and tell me that I needed to have thicker skin, that I should not provoke him by being so difficult. Being difficult meant having an opinion. Being difficult meant existing outside the narrow parameters of what they decided I should be. There is a darker reason for my exile, though, a reason Madison alluded to in the garden, a weapon they keep in a glass case, ready to break whenever I step out of line. The Boston Incident. That is what they call it. The official family story, the one told to aunts and uncles and business rivals, is that I was a research fellow in a prestigious heritage conservation program in Boston. But I cracked. They say I could not handle the pressure. They say I had a breakdown and dropped out, fleeing to New York in shame. They paint me as fragile, unstable, a girl who couldn't hack it in the big leagues. The truth is a jagged stone in my stomach. I did not drop out because I was weak. I left because of what I found. I left because the Ashford name was involved in something that made me sick to my stomach. And when I tried to do the right thing, my family did not stand behind me. They buried me. I carry the scars of that silence every day, but I have never told a soul the full story, not even the man I married. That thought stops me in my tracks outside the bridal suite. Noah. I lean my forehead against the cool wood of the door, closing my eyes. After Boston, after the failure, I moved to New York with nothing. I refused to take a dime from Leonard after he rejected my business plan. I waited tables. I lived in a closet-sized apartment in Queens. I built my reputation stitch by stitch. I got grants. I got scholarships. I landed contracts with the Met and the Cloisters. I became one of the few people in the country trusted to handle 16th century velvet. And then I met Noah Kincaid. He did not walk into my life like a Prince Charming. He walked into my studio wearing a t-shirt and jeans, holding a box that contained a rotting Civil War regimental flag he had bought at an estate sale. He wanted it restored for a museum in his hometown. He did not tell me he was the CEO of Helix Nova Systems. He did not tell me he had revolutionized logistics AI and was worth more than the entire Ashford extended family combined. He just watched me work. He asked questions about the chemical cleaning process. He looked at my hands, stained with dye and microabrasions, and told me I was an artist. Noah was the first person in my life who saw Riley, the restorer, not Riley, the Ashford disappointment. We fell in love over coffee and paper cups and late-night walks across the Brooklyn Bridge. When I found out who he really was, months later, I was terrified. I thought he would change. I thought he would become like them, obsessed with optics, with leverage, with the right kind of people. But he didn't. He was just Noah. We got married 6 months ago in Santa Fe. It was just us, a justice of the peace, and 2 witnesses, my studio assistant and his college roommate. No press, no $1 million tent, no string quartet. We ate tacos on the hood of a rental car afterward and watched the sunset. He wanted to tell them. He wanted to fly us down here on the jet, land on the front lawn, and shove his net worth in Leonard's face. He wanted to buy the Ashford Urban Group just to fire my father. But I said no. I needed to know. I needed to come to this wedding alone. I needed to see, one last time, if there was any scrap of love for me in this family that wasn't conditional on who I was sleeping with. I wanted to see if they could treat me with basic human decency just because I was their daughter and sister. I wanted to know if I could be accepted as Riley, the woman who sews, the woman who came alone. I open my eyes and look down at my ruined dress. I look at the water pooling around my feet. The experiment is over, the data is in, and the conclusion is devastating. They do not love me. They only love the reflection of themselves they see in people, and when they look at me, they see a cracked mirror. I turn the handle of the bridal suite. It is locked, but I have a key. A spare Madison gave me months ago when she wanted me to steam her veil because you are good with irons. I jam the key into the lock and twist. I am done making myself small so they can feel big. I am done protecting them from the reality of who I have become. I push the door open and stumble into the sanctuary of the bridal suite, leaving the wet, cold reality of the garden behind me, but carrying a burning ember of something new inside my chest. It is not hope. It is not sadness. It is the absolute, terrifying clarity of a woman who has nothing left to lose because she just realized she never had them to begin with. I stumble into the bridal suite and slam the heavy oak door shut behind me. My hands are wet and slippery, fumbling with the brass lock until the deadbolt slides home with a definitive, metallic click. The silence is instant, the sounds of the string quartet, the clinking of crystal glasses, and the murmuring of 300 guests are severed as if by a guillotine. But the silence inside the room is not peaceful. It is heavy. It presses against my eardrums, amplifying the sound of my own ragged breathing and the steady drip, drip, drip of water falling from my dress onto the floor. I lean back against the door, my legs giving way, and slide down until I hit the floor. The carpet is a plush, cream-colored wool, probably imported, probably costing more per square yard than my rent in Queens. As I sit there, a dark pool of chlorinated water begins to spread around me, staining the pristine fabric. I stare at the widening dark spot. A part of me, the part trained by Elise Ashford to fear spilled wine and muddy shoes above all else, feels a spike of panic. I am making a mess. Then, a darker, colder part of me thinks, good. The first sob tears out of my throat before I can stop it. It is an ugly, jagged sound. I pull my knees to my chest, wrapping my arms around my shivering body, and bury my face in my wet silk skirt. I am crying. But not just because my father pushed me. I am not crying just because I am cold or because my dress is ruined. I am crying because I knew better. The memories crash over me, more suffocating than the water in the fountain. I am 10 years old at the dinner table, listening to my father toast Madison for winning a spelling bee, while my art project, a woven tapestry that took me 3 weeks, sits ignored on the counter. I am 16, watching my mother meticulously iron Madison's prom dress, while telling me to just steam mine in the shower because she is too busy. I am 32 years old, sitting in a puddle of water, realizing that to them, I am not a person. I am a prop. I am the designated failures. The contrast setting on the television that makes the picture of Madison look brighter. They need me to be the disaster so they can feel like the success. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely unzip my clutch. I pull out my phone. The screen is splashed with water droplets. But it lights up. No messages. No, "Are you okay?" from my mother. No, "I'm sorry" from my sister. Just the blank, indifferent glow of the digital clock. The wallpaper photo stares back at me. It is a selfie Noah took of us 3 weeks ago. We are standing by the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse in Manhattan. The city lights are a blur of gold and diamonds behind us. But Noah is not looking at the view. He is looking at me. He has that soft, guarded half-smile that the business world never sees. I squeeze my eyes shut. God, I was so stupid. I remember the video call the night before I flew to Texas. Noah was sitting in his office at Helix Nova. The sleeves of his dress shirt rolled up, a half-eaten sandwich on his desk. "Let me come with you, Riley," he had said, his voice low and serious. "I can clear my schedule. I will cancel the board meeting in London. Just let me be there." "No," I had insisted, pacing around my living room. "If you come, it becomes about you. It becomes about the money, the status, the Helix Nova name. They will treat me nice because they want something from you." "Maybe that is better than how they usually treat you," he countered. "I need to know, Noah," I had said, my voice cracking. "I need to go as just Riley. I need to see if they can love me without the net worth attached. I need to give them one last chance to be a family." Noah had sighed, rubbing his temples. "You are giving them a chance to hurt you. Riley, they have not earned your benefit of the doubt." "Please," I begged, "just this once. Let me try." I opened my eyes in the cold bridal suite. "You were right. Noah," I whispered to the empty room. "You were right, and I was a naive idiot." I unlock my phone. My fingers hover over the keypad. I do not call him. I cannot speak right now. My throat is too tight. Instead, I open our message thread. I type slowly, my thumbs slipping on the wet glass. "Dad pushed me into the fountain, in front of everyone. He made a joke about me needing to cool off. They all laughed. Mom did not say a word. Madison looked relieved that the attention was off her nervous breakdown. They clapped. Noah, they actually applauded. I stare at the words. They look surreal. Then, I type one last line. I am done. I am actually done this time. I hit send. I drop the phone onto the wet carpet and rest my head back against the door. I close my eyes, listening to the muffled bass of the music outside. They have moved on. The show must go on. the bad daughter has been ejected, and now they can cut the cake. The phone rings. It is not a polite ringtone. It is the jarring, insistent buzz of a call that demands to be answered. I pick it up. Noah's name flashes on the screen. I slide to answer and put the phone to my ear. Noah? I am turning the plane around. His voice is not the soft voice from the wallpaper photo. It is not the gentle voice that wakes me up with coffee on Sunday mornings. It is a voice of steel and ice. It is the voice of a man who commands an empire of logistics and data, a man who moves billions of dollars of cargo across oceans with a single command. In the background, I can hear the dull, powerful roar of jet engines. Noah, you are halfway to New York, I say, my voice trembling. You have the meeting with the European regulators. Screw the regulators, he says. The line crackles slightly. I hear him speaking to someone else, away from the phone but loud enough for me to hear. Tell the pilot to change coordinates. Destination is Austin Bergstrom. Now, I do not care about the flight path clearance. Pay the fine. Just turn this bird around. A sob catches in my throat. Noah, please. Are you hurt? He asks, his voice returning to the receiver. It is tight, controlled, vibrating with a lethal kind of calm. Did he hit you? Do I need to send an ambulance? Or the police? I am okay physically, I stammer. Just cold, and wet, and humiliated. Listen to me. Riley, Noah says. I can have a security team at the gate in 20 minutes. I can have a legal team there in 30. I can shut that entire event down before I even touch the ground. Just say the word. I will treat this like a hostile takeover. I will burn it down. The offer hangs in the air. It is tempting. It is so incredibly tempting to just let him take over, to let the billionaire husband sweep in and crush them with his wallet and his lawyers. It would be easy. But as I look at my reflection in the full-length mirror across the room, something shifts. I see a woman with mascara running down her cheeks like war paint. I see a dress clinging to her body. I see a woman who has spent 32 years asking for permission to exist. If Noah fixes this for me, I am still the victim. I am still the little girl who needs saving. No, I say. My voice surprises me. It is stronger than I feel. No lawyers, not yet. No security team. Riley, I need to do this. Noah, I interrupt. I need to face them. I ran away to this room, but I'm not staying in here. If you send the lawyers, they will just say I am hiding behind a man again. They will say I found a sugar daddy to fight my battles. I am your husband, Noah says fiercely. Fighting for you is my job. And you will, I say. But not like that. Not yet. I take a deep breath. How far away are you? If we push the engines, 40 minutes to landing, another 15 to the venue by chopper. Chopper? I am not sitting in Austin traffic. Riley, I already messaged the logistics team. The helicopter is fueling up at the airfield now. Of course it is. Okay, I say. The tears have stopped flowing. My eyes feel dry and hot. Noah, when you come, I need you to bring something. Anything, he answers immediately. Name it. I think about the safe in our bedroom in New York. I think about the files he keeps there. Not just business contracts, but the dossier he compiled when we first started dating. He is a data guy. He researches everything. When I told him about my family, about the Boston incident, he didn't just listen. He investigated. He found the things I was too scared to look for. Bring the file, I say, and bring the hard drive, the one with the server backups you found. There is a pause on the line. Noah knows exactly what I'm talking about. Riley, that is nuclear. If we use that, there is no going back. That is not just embarrassment, that is criminal liability. I know, I say. I look at the water stain on the carpet. They clapped. Noah, my father pushed me, and they clapped. Okay, Noah says. I can hear the grim satisfaction in his tone. I have digital copies on the encrypted cloud. I will have the physicals printed and waiting when I land. And Noah? Yes, baby. Do not come in the side entrance. Do not be subtle. I plan on landing on the croquet lawn, he says. I love you. Riley, hold on. I am coming. I love you too. I hang up the phone. The connection severs, but the energy remains. I am no longer just the wet, shivering girl in the bridal suite. I am the wife of Noah Kincaid, and I am the woman who holds the detonator to the Ashford Urban Group. I stand up. My legs are steady now. I walk over to the vanity table. My reflection is a disaster. My hair is a rat's nest of wet tangles. My eyes are red-rimmed. My dress is heavy and cold against my skin. I cannot go back out there looking like this. I will not give them the satisfaction of seeing me shiver. I start opening drawers. This is the bridal suite. It is stocked with emergency supplies for Madison. I find a hairdryer. I find a bottle of setting spray. I find a stack of plush white towels. I turn on the hairdryer. The noise fills the room, drowning out the music outside. I begin to dry my hair, not into the perfect waves I had before, but into something wilder, straighter. I wipe the smeared mascara from under my eyes, leaving my face bare and stark. I look around the room for something to wear. My dress is unsalvageable. It will take hours to dry. On a mannequin in the corner, there is a silk robe intended for the bride's getting-ready photos. It is white, delicate, embroidered with Mrs. Hale on the back. I sneer at it. I am not touching that. Then I spot it. Thrown over the back of a velvet armchair is a pashmina shawl. It is a soft, creamy cashmere. It still has the gift tag on it. It must be a present for Madison that someone discarded. I pick it up. It is warm. It is expensive. It is dignified. I strip off my wet dress, leaving it in a heap on the floor. I am wearing a slip underneath that has dried somewhat. I wrap the cashmere shawl around my shoulders, draping it like a toga, like armor. It covers the dampness. It makes me look less like a drowning victim and more like a statue. I walk back to the door. I can hear Madison's voice outside now. She is close. She is coming to check on me, not to see if I am okay, but to make sure I am not ruining her schedule. I place my hand on the doorknob. I am not hiding in here when Noah lands. I am going to be standing right in the center of that garden. I am going to be standing there when the wind from his helicopter blows the napkins off their tables. I want to see their faces when the sky falls on them. I unlock the door. The heavy oak door shudders against my back. The first blow is so violent I can feel the vibration travel through the wood and into my spine. It is followed by a voice that sounds less like my sister and more like a cornered animal. Open this door. Riley, open it right now. Madison is screaming. She is not using her polished debate team voice. She is using the voice she reserves for when things do not go exactly according to her storyboard. I do not move. I stay seated on the wet carpet, my knees drawn up to my chest. The water from my dress has stopped spreading. Now it is just a cold, damp reality soaking into my skin. Go away, Madison, I say. My voice is calm. It surprises me how steady it sounds in the small, echoing room. I am not going anywhere, she shrieks, pounding on the wood again with the flat of her hand. Do you have any idea what you have done? The Hales are asking if you are mentally stable. Preston's mother is asking if we need to call a doctor. You are humiliating me. I am humiliating you? I ask, staring at the brass handle jiggling uselessly above my head. Dad pushed me into a fountain. Madison, he physically assaulted me, and you stood there and watched. He was stressed, Madison yells back. You provoked him. You always provoke him. You come in here with your sad little solo act, looking for attention, knowing exactly what triggers him. This is your fault. Riley, it is always your fault. I close my eyes. It is the family mantra. Riley's fault. If it rains at the barbecue, Riley brought bad weather. If the stock market dips, Riley's art degree is bad feng shui. I am not coming out, I say. You have to come out. Her voice drops an octave, shifting from rage to frantic bargaining. Listen to me. We can fix this. I told Preston you have been on new medication for vertigo. We can spin this. You just need to come out. walk up to Dad in front of everyone, and apologize. My eyes snap open. Apologize? Yes. Apologize for causing a scene. Tell them you slipped. Tell them your heels caught on the stone and Dad tried to catch you but missed. It is the only way to save the reception. It is the only way to save the family honor. I let out a short, dry laugh. The family honor died the minute Dad decided his pride was worth more than my safety. Don't you dare talk about honor, Madison hisses. You are just jealous. You have always been jealous that I am the one who made it. I am the one who did everything right. And now you want to destroy my wedding because you cannot stand that I won. I am not playing this game anymore, Madison. Fine, she says. The silence that follows is thick and heavy. When she speaks again, her voice is low, sliding through the crack under the door like a poisonous gas. If you do not open this door and fix this, I am going to tell them. I am going to tell Richard Hale the real reason you left Boston. My stomach drops. The cold from my wet dress suddenly feels like ice in my veins. Boston. The word hangs in the air between us, separated by 2 inches of oak. I know you hear me, Madison says, her voice dripping with triumph. Everyone thinks you just burned out. They think you were too weak for the academic pressure. But we know the truth, don't we? We know you were kicked out. We know you were fired for gross negligence. The memory hits me so hard I gasp. I am 26 years old again. I am sitting in a cramped office in Boston, staring at a computer screen that is blurring because I have not slept in 30 hours. I was the star research fellow. I was analyzing structural integrity data for urban renewal projects. One of the case studies was an Ashford urban group high-rise in Dallas. I remember the moment the numbers did not add up. The load-bearing capacity on the rebar invoices did not match the concrete density reports. It was a discrepancy of 15%. 15% is the difference between a building that stands for a century and a building that cracks when the ground settles. I remember flying home that weekend, clutching the file folder to my chest. I remember walking into Leonard's office, naive enough to think he would thank me. I thought I was saving him from a contractor's mistake. Dad, look at this. The steel grade is wrong. If we pour the concrete on this grid, the shear stress will be too high. Leonard had not thanked me. He had snatched the folder from my hands and thrown it into his shredder without even reading the second page. You do not know how business works, Riley, he had sneered. These are acceptable variances. We saved $2 million on that steel. Do not stick your nose where it does not belong. Stick to your sewing. I had tried to push back. I told him I couldn't sign off on the case study if the data was fake. He told me that if I opened my mouth, he would cut off my tuition, my rent, and my future. He told me I was nothing without his money. I went back to Boston. I stayed silent. I was a coward. 3 weeks later, a scaffolding collapse at that site injured 4 workers. It wasn't the main building, but it triggered an audit. The investigators came looking for the structural files. They needed a scapegoat. Leonard called me. He didn't ask. He ordered, "You sent the wrong file. Riley, that is the story. You were the external consultant, and you uploaded the draft version instead of the final. That is why the specs were off. It was a clerical error. Your error." I refused, so he did it for me. He had his lawyers contact the program director. They spun a story about my mental instability, my drug use, my confusion. They threatened to sue the university unless everything was swept under the rug. The deal was simple. I withdrew from the program quietly, took the blame for the file error, and the Ashford Urban Group wouldn't press charges for corporate espionage. I took the fall. I let them paint me as the incompetent, unstable daughter to save Leonard from a criminal investigation. I let my career in structural analysis die, so his reputation could live. And now, Madison wants to use that corpse as a weapon. I will tell them, Madison threatens through the door. I will tell the Hales that you were fired for leaking confidential client data. I will tell them you are a security risk. Do you think anyone will hire you after that? Do you think your little restoration studio will survive if the Hales blacklist you? She thinks she is holding a gun. She doesn't realize she is pointing it at a tank. A strange clarity washes over me. For 6 years, I have been terrified of that secret. I have let it rule me. I have let it make me small. But standing here, dripping wet on the other side of a locked door, I realize something. The secret only hurts me if I'm trying to protect them. If I stop protecting them, the secret destroys them. Madison, I say. My voice is no longer shaking. It is cold. It is sharp. Are you sure you want to bring up Boston? Try me, she taunts. No, really, I say, leaning my head back against the wood. Think about it. You want to tell a room full of real estate tycoons and investors about the Westlake project? You want to bring up the safety reports? I will tell them it was your fault, she screams. You can try, I say softly. But here's the thing about my husband. Madison. He is in data logistics. He traces everything. He finds things that people think they have deleted. There is a silence on the other side of the door. It is a hesitant silence. What are you talking about? She asks. Her voice wavers slightly. I am talking about the original emails, I say. The ones Dad sent me. The ones where he told me to hide the steel grade. The ones where he threatened me. I kept them, Madison, and Noah found them. I can hear her breathing. It is a ragged, shallow sound. You are bluffing, she whispers. You would never destroy the family. You are too weak. I was weak, I correct her. I was weak because I loved you. I took the fall so you could have your perfect tuition and your perfect car and not be the daughter of a felon. But you just stood there and watched him push me into a pool. You just demanded I lie for him again. I stand up. My legs feel powerful. Go back to your party. Madison, I say, go tell the Hales whatever you want. But if you mention Boston, make sure you are ready for the federal investigation that comes with it, because this time, I am not the one who is going to burn. You bitch, she stammers, but I hear the fear. She steps back. I hear the click of her heels on the floorboards. Retreating. She is not running away, but she is backing down. She is going to find Dad. She is going to panic. I listen until her footsteps fade completely. I am alone in the room again, but the air feels different. The suffocating weight is gone. I turn to the room. I need to be ready. I cannot go out there looking like a victim. I scan the space again. My eyes land on the velvet armchair in the corner. Draped over the back is a shawl. I must have missed it before, or maybe I just didn't see it through the panic. It is a cashmere shawl, a deep, creamy beige. It is pristine. There is still a tag on it, a gift from some distant aunt that Madison probably discarded because it wasn't white enough. I walk over and pick it up. The fabric is soft and warm against my fingertips. I grab the scissors from the vanity and snip the tag. I let the shawl unfold. It is large, almost like a blanket. I wrap it around my shoulders. It covers the wet, clinging silk of my dress. It covers my bare arms. I pull it tight, crossing it over my chest and throwing the ends over my shoulders. I look in the mirror. The woman staring back is not the girl who fell in the fountain. Her hair is drying in wild, fierce waves. Her face is scrubbed clean of makeup, pale and severe. The shawl looks like the robes of a Roman senator. She looks dangerous. I hear a sound from outside, a low, rhythmic thumping. It is distant at first, but it is getting louder. The glass in the window pane rattles slightly. The helicopter. Noah is here. I walk to the door. I do not hesitate. My hand closes over the brass lock. I twist it. The deadbolt slides back with a heavy, satisfying clunk. I open the door. The hallway is empty. The music from the garden is drifting in. A polite waltz that feels absurdly out of place. I step out onto the runner. I do not look down at my feet. I look straight ahead. I am going back to the garden, and I am bringing the storm with me. The garden is quiet when I step back out. It is not the peaceful silence of a library, but the tense, suffocated silence of a room where someone has just dropped a tray of glass and everyone is waiting to see who will clean it up. I walk slowly. My wet shoes are silent on the grass now. The creamy cashmere shawl is wrapped tight around my body. covering the ruined silk dress, transforming me from a drowned rat into something else, something harder to define. I keep my head high. I do not look at the ground. I look straight at the head table. The guests turn to look at me. 300 pairs of eyes. I see confusion. I see judgment. But I also see a flicker of unease. They look at me like I am a ghost that has refused to stay buried. Is she really coming back? Their faces seem to ask, after that? Leonard is standing on the small raised stage near the dance floor, a microphone in his hand. He has recovered his composure, or at least the mask of it. He is laughing at something Richard Hale said, projecting the image of the unbothered patriarch. Then, he sees me. The smile slides off his face like oil. He lowers the microphone, but not enough. "I thought you had the decency to disappear." His voice booms over the speakers. It echoes off the facade of the mansion, harsh and metallic. The guests cringe. A few people whisper. It is one thing to shun the black sheep. It is another to bark at her over a PA system. I stop near the fountain, the scene of the crime. I do not take the microphone. I do not need one. The silence is so absolute that my voice carries on the wind. I was just stepping out to get warm. "Dad," I say. I offer him a smile that doesn't reach my eyes. "I wouldn't want to miss your speech. I know how much you love talking about how family is everything to the Ashfords. I wanted to hear you say it while I'm standing right here." A ripple of murmurs goes through the crowd. It is the sound of uncomfortable people realizing the play has gone off script. Leonard's knuckles turn white around the microphone handle. He opens his mouth to eviscerate me, to order security to drag me out, to finish what he started. He never gets the chance. It starts as a vibration. The water in the fountain behind me begins to ripple, destroying the perfect mirror surface. On the tables, the champagne in the crystal flutes starts to dance. The silverware chatters against the china plates. Thump, thump, thump. It is a low, rhythmic bass that you feel in your chest before you hear it with your ears. Leonard looks up, irritated. He thinks it is a sound system malfunction. "Cut the bass," he yells at the DJ booth. The DJ throws his hands up, shaking his head. It is not the speakers. The sound grows. It swells from a vibration into a roar. It is the sound of raw mechanical power tearing through the sky. The wind picks up instantly. The perfectly arranged floral centerpieces begin to tremble. A napkin flies off a table, then another. "What is that?" someone screams. Every head tilts back. Every eye looks toward the lake. From behind the line of oak trees, a shadow rises. It is a machine, a helicopter, but not a traffic news chopper or a medical transport. This is a predator. It is sleek and jet black, with tinted windows that reflect the setting sun like obsidian. It banks sharply over the water, the rotor wash hitting the garden with the force of a hurricane. The white tents billow violently, straining against their stakes. The elaborate flower arch where Madison said her vows shudders and lists to the side. Ladies clutch their wide-brimmed hats. Men grab the tablecloths to keep the glasses from sliding off. It is chaos. It is loud, aggressive, and utterly impossible to ignore. Leonard is shouting something into the microphone, but the sound is swallowed by the roar of the turbine engine. He looks furious, but beneath the fury, for the first time tonight, I see fear. This is power he does not control. The helicopter hovers over the designated lawn game area, a manicured stretch of grass intended for croquet. The pilot brings it down with surgical precision. The landing gear touches the grass, sinking slightly into the soft turf. The engine begins to wind down, the blades slowing from a blur to a visible swoosh. "Did you order a flyover?" Preston Hale leans in, shouting to be heard over the noise. He looks terrified. "Is this part of the show?" Richard Hale, the real estate mogul who has spent the last hour looking down his nose at my family, is not looking at Preston. He is staring at the tail of the helicopter. He has frozen, his glass of scotch arrested halfway to his mouth. "That is not a show," Richard says. His voice is barely a whisper, but I can read his lips. On the tail fin of the black machine, painted in a discreet, matte silver, is a logo, a stylized double helix wrapping around a star. Helix Nova Systems. Richard knows that logo. Everyone in high finance knows that logo. It belongs to the company that revolutionized global supply chains. It belongs to the tech giant that Richard has been trying to get a meeting with for 3 years to pitch his commercial logistics parks. He has been rejected by their secretaries 5 times. And now, their corporate transport is parking on his daughter-in-law's croquet lawn. "Is it the police?" Madison screeches, clutching her veil to keep it from flying away. "Why are they ruining my reception?" The side door of the helicopter slides open. 2 men step out first. They are big. They are wearing dark suits that are cut to conceal holsters, and they have coiled earpieces running down their necks. They do not look at the wedding guests. They scan the perimeter. They scan the roof of the house. They scan the tree line. This is not a social call. This is a security extraction detail. The crowd falls deathly silent. The wind has died down, leaving only the high-pitched whine of the cooling engine and the sound of 300 people holding their breath. Then, a third figure emerges from the dark interior of the cabin. Noah. He steps onto the grass with the easy grace of a man who owns the ground he walks on. He is wearing a charcoal suit that fits him like a second skin. No tie, the top button of his crisp white shirt undone. He looks tired, but it is the kind of tired that looks expensive. The fatigue of a man who has just crossed an ocean to handle a crisis. He adjusts his cuffs. He looks calm, while everyone else in the garden looks like they have been hit by a tornado. Noah looks like he just stepped out of a climate-controlled boardroom. A gasp ripples through the VIP section. "Is that?" someone whispers. "That is Noah Kincaid," a banker at table 4 says loud enough for me to hear. "That is the CEO of Helix Nova." What is he doing here? Does he know the Ashfords? Noah ignores them all. He does not look at Leonard, who is standing on the stage with his mouth hanging open like a fish. He does not look at the Hales. He does not look at the ruin of the flower arch. His eyes lock onto me. I am standing 30 feet away, by the fountain. I am still damp. My hair is wild. I am wrapped in a stolen shawl. I probably look like a wreck. But Noah looks at me like I am the only source of light in the entire state of Texas. He starts walking. He walks right down the center aisle, between the rows of white chairs. The guests part for him instinctively. It is a reaction to power. They shrink back, making a path, terrified to obstruct him. Leonard steps down from the stage, his instinct to network kicking in over his shock. He moves to intercept Noah, hand extended, a desperate, confused smile plastering onto his face. "Mr. Kincaid," Leonard calls out. "What an unexpected honor. I had no idea you were—" Noah does not break stride. He does not even turn his head. He walks past my father as if Leonard is a waiter holding a tray of empty glasses. He ghosts him completely. Leonard is left standing there, hand in the air, shaking nothing but the humid evening breeze. The humiliation is swift and total. The Hales see it. The investors see it. The king of Ashford Urban Group just became invisible. Noah stops 2 feet in front of me. Up close, I can see the tension in his jaw. I can see the way his eyes are scanning my face, checking for bruises, checking for cracks. I see the flash of cold, dangerous rage when his eyes drop to the wet hem of my dress and the water still pooled around my heels. "Hi," I whisper. My voice is small. Noah reaches out. His hand is warm. He brushes a damp lock of hair away from my cheek, his thumb lingering on my skin. It is a touch so tender, so intimate, that it feels like he is shouting at them without saying a word. "I am sorry I am late," he says. His voice is deep, rough with exhaustion and emotion. The headwinds over the Atlantic were worse than the pilot predicted. "You made an entrance," I say, a tear finally escaping and tracking through the mess of my face. "I told you," he says softly. "I do not care about the flight path." He does not look around to address the crowd. He does not ask for permission. He leans down and kisses me. It is not a polite, social peck. He kisses me with a hunger and a possessiveness that sucks the air out of the garden. He kisses me like he is claiming me, branding me, reminding me, and everyone watching, exactly who I belong to. I grip the lapels of his suit, burying my hands in the expensive fabric, holding on as if he is the only solid thing in a spinning world. For a moment, the staring guests, the judging parents, the cruel sister, they all dissolve. There is just Noah, and the smell of his cologne, and the solid wall of his chest. When he finally pulls back, he keeps his arm around my waist, pulling me tight against his side. He turns. He looks at the silent, stunned crowd. He looks at Richard Hale, who is now standing up, looking pale. He looks at Madison, whose jaw is trembling. Finally, his gaze lands on Leonard. Noah does not smile. His face is a mask of stone. "You dropped something," Noah says to my father, gesturing to the wet pavement where I fell. The silence stretches, taut as a wire, waiting to snap. Leonard rushes forward, his face a mask of mottled red fury. He is moving with the desperate, aggressive energy of a man who sees his carefully constructed reality crumbling and thinks he can put it back together by shouting. He does not see Noah Kincaid, the tech mogul. He sees a stranger touching his property. He sees his embarrassment being amplified. "Get your hands off my daughter," Leonard roars, closing the distance between us. He stops a few feet away, panting, his finger pointed accusingly at me. "Riley, have you no shame? First you ruined the ceremony, and now you are throwing yourself at our VIP guests? Get away from him. Stop clinging to this man, and go inside before I have security drag you out." The garden goes deadly silent. Leonard is panting, waiting for the stranger to step aside, waiting for the natural order of things, where he commands and everyone obeys, to reassert itself. Noah does not move. He does not flinch. He does not release his grip on my waist. If anything, he pulls me tighter against his side, his fingers pressing reassuringly into the cashmere shawl. He looks at Leonard with an expression of mild curiosity, as if he is observing a particularly noisy insect. "I am not a guest, Leonard," Noah says. His voice is not loud, but it has a timbre that carries all the way to the back of the tent. It is the voice he uses to fire board members. And she is not clinging to me. Leonard blinks, confused by the tone. "Excuse me? Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," Noah interrupts, his tone flat and dangerously bored. "You are the man who just assaulted my wife." The word hangs in the humid air like a thunderclap. Wife. I hear a collective gasp from the tables. It starts near the front and ripples backward. Madison drops her champagne glass. It shatters on the pavers, but nobody looks at the mess. "Wife?" Leonard stammers. He looks from Noah to me, his eyes bulging. "What are you talking about? Riley isn't married. She is Riley." "Allow me to introduce myself properly, since your invitation list seems to have been lacking," Noah says. He scans the crowd, making sure every ear captures this. "My name is Noah Kincaid. I am the co-founder and CEO of Helix Nova Systems, and Riley is not just Riley, she is Riley Kincaid, my legal, lawful wife." The atmosphere in the garden shifts instantly. It is a physical sensation, like the air pressure dropping before a storm. The sneers, the pity, the amusement, it all evaporates, replaced by a terrified realization. The Ashfords didn't just bully their black sheep daughter. They bullied the wife of a man whose net worth could buy their entire neighborhood. Richard Hale is the first to react. Of course he is. He is a shark, and he smells blood in the water. He realizes instantly that his son is marrying into a family that just humiliated the spouse of a potential billion-dollar investor. Richard shoves past his wife, knocking over a chair in his haste. He rushes toward us, a wide, trembling smile plastered on his face. He extends a hand that is slightly sweaty. "Mr. Kincaid," Richard exclaims, his voice jumping an octave. "My goodness, what a misunderstanding. I had no idea. I am Richard Hale, Hale Properties. I have been trying to get a meeting with your procurement division for months. It is such an honor, truly an honor, to have you here at my son's wedding. He leaves his hand hanging in the air, waiting for the handshake that will absolve him, the handshake that will signal to the room that he is part of the inner circle. Noah looks at Richard's hand. He looks at it for a long, agonizing second. Then he looks Richard in the eye and puts his own hand in his pocket. I do not shake hands with people who laugh when my wife is pushed into a fountain. Mr. Hale, Noah says coldly. Richard turns a shade of beet red that clashes violently with his silk tie. He slowly retracts his hand, looking like he wants to dissolve into the grass. The rejection is absolute. It is a public execution of his social standing. Now, Noah continues, turning his attention back to the crowd. Let us clear up another misconception. I keep hearing whispers about Riley's employment. I heard her father call her a seamstress. He looks down at me, his eyes softening for a fraction of a second before hardening again as he addresses my family. My wife is not a seamstress, Noah says, his voice ringing with pride. She is the lead restoration expert for the Metropolitan Museum's medieval textile collection. She is the primary consultant for the Getty in Los Angeles. She is currently overseeing the preservation of the 17th century tapestries that I just donated to the National Gallery. She is the only person in the world I trust with history, because she is the only one who knows how to fix what other people have broken. I feel a lump rise in my throat. I have never heard him say it like that. I knew he respected my work, but hearing him list my credentials to the people who called my career arts and crafts feels like a vindication I have waited a lifetime for. I see Valerie Hale, the mother of the groom, whispering frantically to her husband. The Getty? Did he say the Getty? They look at me differently now. Suddenly, I am not the unemployed sister. I am prestige. I am the kind of cultural currency they desperately want to hoard. That is a lie. The scream comes from the stage. Madison tears off her veil and throws it onto the ground. She stomps down the stairs, her face twisted into a mask of pure, unfiltered jealousy. She cannot handle it. She cannot handle that the spotlight has shifted. She cannot handle that the loser sister is suddenly the most powerful person in the room. She is lying, Madison yells, pointing a trembling finger at me. He is lying. You do not know her. Noah, you do not know what she really is. She is a fraud. Leonard tries to grab her arm to silence her, sensing that the tide has turned, but Madison shakes him off. She is spiraling. Tell them, Riley, Madison shrieks. Tell your billionaire husband about Boston. Tell him why you really came crawling back from the Heritage Program. Tell him about how you were kicked out for incompetence. Tell him about the data leak. She turns to the Hales, her eyes wild. She was fired. She couldn't handle the pressure, so she messed up a huge project and got kicked out of her PhD program. She is damaged goods. She is a liability. The guests gasp again. This is the dirt they crave. This is the scandal. I look at my sister. I look at the woman I protected for 6 years. I look at the woman who just tried to destroy me to save her own ego. Boston, I repeat calmly. Yes, Boston, Madison sneers. Go ahead. Deny it. Tell everyone how you failed. I step forward, moving slightly out of the circle of Noah's arm. I need to stand on my own for this. I did not fail in Boston. Madison, I say. My voice is steady. I left Boston because I took the blame for you. Madison freezes. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Excuse me? Leonard barks, stepping in front of Madison. Do not try to rewrite history, Riley. We all know you. Stop, I say. I do not shout, but I put enough force into the word to cut him off. We are done with the lies. Dad, we are done with the Riley is crazy narrative. I turn to the Hales. I look directly at Preston. 6 years ago, Madison was failing her second year of law school. I say clearly. She was on academic probation. She had a major paper due on urban zoning laws, a paper that would determine if she stayed in the program. She didn't write it. She paid a ghostwriter to do it. but the ghostwriter plagiarized 40% of the content. Liar, Madison screams, but her voice is thin, terrified. The school found out, I continue, ignoring her. They were going to expel her. They were going to blacklist her from every law school in the country. Leonard couldn't have that. His golden child couldn't be a failure. So he came to me. I look at my mother. Elise. She is standing by the buffet table, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. She knows. She was there. I was a research fellow, I say. I had access to the university database. Dad made a deal. If I confessed to misusing my credentials to access the files and giving them to Madison without her knowing they were plagiarized, the school would drop the case against her. They needed a scapegoat. I was the older sister. It was my job to protect her. So I signed the confession. I gave up my fellowship. I gave up my reputation so Madison could graduate with honors. That is absurd, Leonard sputters, though he is sweating profusely. Where is your proof? It is your word against ours. Noah steps up beside me. He reaches into the inside pocket of his jacket. He pulls out a folded piece of paper. Actually, Noah says, unfolding the document with deliberate slowness, it is not just her word. It is the settlement agreement you signed with the university board, and the email chain between you and Dean Reynolds. Noah holds the paper up, even from a distance. The letterhead is visible. Professor Arthur Halloway, Noah reads, his voice clinical and precise. Project code 899, Alpha. And here's the wire transfer receipt. $50,000 donation to the law school's building fund, paid by Ashford Urban Group 2 days after Riley resigned, and another $20,000 sent to a Mr. James Sterling, the ghostwriter, accompanied by a non-disclosure agreement. The silence in the garden is total. It is the silence of a grave. Noah looks at Leonard over the top of the paper. I have the bank records. Leonard, I have the emails where you told Riley that if she didn't take the fall, you would cut off her health insurance while she was recovering from pneumonia. Do you want me to read those out loud? Or do we all get the picture? Richard Hale turns slowly to his son. Preston, he says. His voice is shaking. Did you know about this? Preston looks like he has been slapped. He looks at Madison, who is sobbing now, her mascara running in black streaks that mirror my own ruined makeup from earlier. But her tears are not from water. They are from guilt. You told me she was crazy, Preston whispers to Madison. You told me she was kicked out for drugs. You said she was the one who almost ruined the family name. It was just a mistake, Madison wails, grabbing Preston's lapel. I was stressed. I just needed help. Daddy said it would be okay. Daddy said it would be okay, I repeat, my voice cutting through her sobbing. That is the story of your life, isn't it, Madison? Daddy pays, Riley pays, and you just keep shining. Richard Hale steps back from the Ashford family as if they are contagious. He looks at Leonard with pure disgust. You sold us a bill of goods. Leonard, you told us your family was impeccable. You told us your daughter was a legal prodigy. She is, Leonard insists, his voice cracking. She passed the bar. She is a partner. She is a fraud, Richard spits, and we do not do business with frauds. The murmurs of the crowd rise into a cacophony. I see people pulling out their phones. The story is already leaking. The bubble of the Ashford perfection has popped, and the sound is deafening. I stand there, listening to the chaos. For the first time in my life, nobody is looking at me with pity. They are looking at me with awe. They are looking at the woman who walked through fire and came out holding the match. Noah puts his hand on the small of my back. Ready for the next part? He whispers. I look at Leonard, who is shrinking before my eyes, turning into a small, frightened old man. I look at Madison, weeping on the grass in her couture gown. Yes, I say. I am ready. Noah lifts his hand, a sharp, precise gesture to the security team standing by the helicopter. One of the agents nods and steps forward, carrying a sleek, matte black briefcase. He moves through the stunned crowd with the efficiency of a man delivering a nuclear code, placing the case on the table in front of us. I need the screen, Noah says into the silence. He gestures to the massive LED wall set up beside the stage. It was currently displaying a paused slideshow of Madison and Preston, a loop of them laughing on a sailboat, bathed in golden light. I would like to borrow the projection system for a few minutes. Absolutely not, Leonard shouts, finding his voice again. He lunges toward the audio-visual booth, waving his arms at the terrified technician. Cut the feed. Turn it off. Do not let him touch anything. Leave it on. A voice cuts through Leonard's panic. It is Richard Hale. He is standing near the front, his face pale, his eyes hard as flint. He looks at the technician. I paid for that screen, and I want to see what Mr. Kincaid has to show us. The technician freezes, looking between the red-faced father of the bride and the man who signs his checks. Money wins. The technician steps back from the console, raising his hands in surrender. Noah opens the briefcase. He takes out a black drive and plugs it into the system. The image of Madison and Preston on the sailboat flickers and vanishes. The screen goes black for a heartbeat, and then a stark, high-contrast document appears. It is blue-tinted, magnified so that every pixel is visible to the 300 guests on the lawn. This, Noah says, his voice amplified by the microphone he is still holding, is the internal server log from the Westlake project in Boston, the one Riley was fired for. The crowd murmurs. On the screen, rows of data appear. It looks complex, but Noah points a laser clicker, highlighting a specific column. These are the structural safety reports, Noah explains. Riley's original report is here, dated October 14th. It flags the steel grade as insufficient. It recommends an immediate halt to construction. He clicks, the slide changes. And this, Noah says, is the report that was submitted to the city inspectors 3 days later. The warnings are gone. The steel grade has been manually altered to meet the minimum code requirement, and here, in the metadata. He circles a username at the bottom of the screen. User, L. Ashford, admin. Time, 2:03 a.m. Riley didn't upload the wrong file, Noah says calmly. The file was edited from an IP address registered to the Ashford estate here in Austin, while Riley was asleep in her dorm in Boston. Leonard is shaking his head, mumbling something about hackers, about errors, but nobody is listening to him. Noah clicks again. A scanned email fills the screen. The font is large, angry. It is an email from Leonard to me. I remember reading it on my phone in the library, feeling my stomach turn to acid. From Leonard Ashford to Riley Ashford. Subject, urgent, situation handling. I do not care what the data says. Riley, we are leveraged to the hilt on this project. If we pause for a safety review, the investors walk, and the company goes under. You need to take the hit on this data mix-up. A little embarrassment for you is better than bankruptcy for all of us. Think about your sister. Do you want Madison's future to be buried because you couldn't be a team player? Sign the admission of error. I will handle the school. A collective gasp ripples through the garden. It is one thing to hear about bad parenting. It is another to see it written in black and white. The manipulations so naked, so transactional. He told me it was a mix-up, I say, stepping up to the microphone. My voice echoes over the lawn. He told me that if I just took the blame for a clerical error, he would fix the building quietly. He swore to me that he would reinforce the beams once the inspectors left. I signed that paper because I thought I was saving the people who would live in that tower. I look at my father. But you didn't fix it, did you, Dad? You just wanted the permit. Leonard is staring at the screen, his face gray. And then, Noah says, there is this. He clicks the remote. The screen shifts from documents to video. It is grainy, black and white footage. The timestamp in the corner reads 4 years ago. It is the interior of the Ashford Urban Group offices. The camera is positioned high in the corner, looking down at a glass-walled conference room. In the video, a younger me is sitting at a table. I look small, terrified. Leonard is standing over me. He is not the jovial host we saw earlier. He is slamming his hand on the table, He is pointing a finger in my face. He slides a document toward me, a non-disclosure agreement. The audio is muddy, but the subtitles Noah's team has added are clear, transcribing the words perfectly. Leonard, in video. You sign this, Riley, or you are on your own. I mean it. If you talk about Madison's law school application, I will cut you off. No tuition for your little art school. No rent? Nothing. I will ensure Madison gets into that school, and you are going to help her. Or you can forget you have a father. Riley, in video. But it's illegal, Dad, if they find out. Leonard, in video. They won't find out unless you open your mouth. Sign it. In the video. I pick up the pen. I am crying. I sign the paper. The screen freezes on that frame, my face buried in my hands. Leonard snatching the paper away with a look of triumph. In the garden, the silence is heavy, suffocating. It is the feeling of a courtroom after a guilty verdict. I look at Elise. My mother is staring at the giant screen, her eyes wide, her hands trembling so violently that her diamond bracelet is rattling against her watch. She looks at the video Leonard, then at the real Leonard standing a few feet away. For years, she told herself stories. She told herself that Leonard was just strict, that he was ambitious, that he did what he had to do for the family. She convinced herself that I was just difficult, that I needed tough love. But watching that video, watching her husband loom over her sobbing daughter like a thug, the delusion shatters. She sees the cruelty. She sees the coercion. She sees that she wasn't keeping the peace. She was keeping the victims quiet. You, Elise whispers. Her voice is thin, breaking. You told me she volunteered. Leonard spins around to face her. Elise, honey, do not listen to this. It is taken out of context. It is a deep fake. You know what technology is like these days. I saw that suit, Elise says, her voice rising, becoming hysterical. You wore that suit the day you came home late. You told me Riley had come to the office to apologize. You told me she wanted to help her sister. She did, Leonard insists, reaching for her. Elise steps back, recoiling from his touch. No, you forced her. Just like you forced me to sign those loan papers last year. Elise, shut up, Leonard hisses, his eyes darting to the Hales, to the investors, to the cameras that are surely recording this. But the dam has broken. Elise is not thinking about the guests anymore. She is thinking about the terror of her own life, the secrets she has been swallowing to keep this facade alive. She looks at the screen, at the documents about the Boston project, about the money transfers. Is this why you were so scared last month? Elise screams at him. Is this why you emptied the safe? That night in the study, when I found you packing the files into the duffel bag, I asked you if we were in trouble. I asked you if you were going to prison for embezzlement. The word hangs in the air, embezzlement. It is the one word you never say in a gathering of investors. It is the death knell. Leonard lunges at her, grabbing her arm. I said shut your mouth. Let her go, Noah says. He doesn't shout. He doesn't have to. Two of his security guards step forward, interposing themselves between Leonard and Elise. Leonard releases her, stumbling back, looking trapped. Noah looks at the crowd. He looks at Richard Hale, who is now frantically typing on his phone, probably texting his compliance officer. Thank you, Elise, Noah says calmly. That actually clarifies the last piece of the puzzle. He clicks the remote one last time. A final spreadsheet appears. It is a complex web of shell companies and offshore accounts. We have had a forensic accounting team looking at the Ashford Urban Group's books for 3 months. Noah explains to the garden. We found the holes, but we couldn't figure out where the physical records were. We knew money was being siphoned off from construction materials to pay for personal debts, for Madison's lifestyle, for this wedding, but we needed the physical ledger. Noah looks at Leonard. And now we know. You took the files from the safe. You knew the audit was coming. The guests are no longer looking at a family drama. They are looking at a crime scene. They are realizing that the champagne they are drinking was likely paid for with money stolen from building safety funds. They are realizing that the Ashford Empire is a hollow shell, rotting from the inside out. "This isn't a wedding," a woman at the front table whispers, clutching her purse. "It is a Ponzi scheme." The air in the garden is thick with the smell of rain and ruin. Leonard is standing alone in the center of the scrutiny, stripped of his bluster, stripped of his lies. He looks small. He looks guilty. I step forward. I still have the microphone. "I didn't want to do this," I say. My voice shakes slightly, but I steady it. "I wanted to come here, wish my sister well, and leave. I wanted to believe that somewhere, underneath the money and the ambition, you were still my father." I look at him. "But a father protects his children. You only protected your reflection." I take a breath. The evidence is on the screen. The confession is in the air. The police haven't been called yet, but everyone knows it is only a matter of time. I look at Noah. He nods. It is time for the ultimatum. I turn my back on the screen. I do not need to look at the evidence anymore. I lived it. I face my father. The distance between us is only about 10 feet of manicured grass, but it feels like we are standing on opposite sides of a canyon. The wind from the helicopter has died down, leaving a heavy, humid stillness in the garden. The guests are statues. The waiters are frozen. The only thing moving is Leonard's chest, heaving up and down as he stares at the wreckage of his reputation. "Let us be clear about what is happening here," I say. My voice is not loud. It does not need to be. I am using the voice I use when I'm negotiating a contract with a museum curator, calm, factual, and immovable. We have the altered safety reports from Boston. I list them off on my fingers. We have the video of you coercing me into signing a fraudulent confession. We have the email chain proving you knew the steel was substandard. And now, thanks to Mom, we have the confirmation of financial embezzlement. I take a step closer. "And let us not forget the workers who fell when that scaffolding collapsed. You paid them off to stay quiet, but their injuries were real. You traded their safety for your profit margin." Leonard wipes a line of sweat from his forehead. He tries to straighten his spine, tries to summon the ghost of the CEO he was 10 minutes ago. "You are blowing this out of proportion," he says. His voice is raspy. "It was a bridge loan, Riley. That is all. Every business does it. I moved some capital around to keep the company afloat during a liquidity crunch. I was going to put it back. I always put it back." He looks around at the guests, seeking allies. "Nobody was really hurt. The building is standing, isn't it? The tenants are fine. It was a business decision to save the enterprise." "I was hurt," I say. The words cut through his excuse like a razor. "My career was destroyed. My name was dragged through the mud. I was exiled from my own life so you could keep your office and your country club membership. I was the human shield you used to catch the bullets you fired." I point to the screen behind me. "That is not a business decision, Dad. That is a sacrifice, and I am done bleeding for you." Noah steps forward. He does not touch me this time. He stands slightly behind me, a silent wall of enforcement. "Riley," Noah says, his tone conversational, but carrying a lethal edge. "If you give the word, I can forward this entire drive to the Texas Department of Insurance and the Federal Trade Commission. I have the emails drafted. I have the contacts on speed dial. With the weight of Helix Nova behind the complaint, I guarantee you this will not be swept under the rug. They will be here with warrants by tomorrow morning." Leonard flinches. He knows Noah is not bluffing. He knows that in the food chain of capitalism, Noah is the apex predator, and he is just a scavenger. I let the threat hang in the air for 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a long time when you are staring at the end of your life. Then, I turn to the guests. I look at the investors who are currently texting their lawyers. I look at the residents of the Ashford properties who might be seeing this on the live stream. I do not want the buildings to close, I say clearly. There are hundreds of families living in Ashford properties. If we burn this company to the ground today, they are the ones who lose. They lose their homes. The workers lose their jobs. The city loses its housing. I turn back to Leonard. "I am not going to let you walk away," I say. "But I am not going to burn the house down with the people inside it. So what do you want?" Leonard asks. He sounds tired. He sounds defeated. I want the company, I say. Leonard blinks. What? You are going to resign, I tell him. Effective immediately. Tonight, you will step down as CEO of Ashford Urban Group. You and Mom will transfer your controlling interest, 51% of the voting shares, to me. You cannot be serious, Leonard sputters. That is my company. I built it. You broke it, I correct him. And I am going to fix it. I am going to reincorporate. It will not be Ashford Urban Group anymore. It will be a new entity. We are going to specialize in restoration. We are going to go back to every building you cut corners on, and we are going to reinforce them. We are going to pay back the funds you stole. We are going to make it right. And why would I give you my company? Leonard sneers, trying to find one last scrap of leverage. Because the alternative is prison, I say. I look him dead in the eye. Here is the deal. You sign the transfer papers tonight. You hand over full control to me, Riley Monroe Ashford. In exchange, I agree not to send this hard drive to the district attorney or the press. I pause. However, this amnesty is conditional. You will cooperate with the transition. You will not shred a single document. You will not delete a single email. You will not try to move any assets offshore. If you try to hide so much as a stapler, the deal is off, and I send Noah's file to the FBI. Elise lets out a small, strangled cry. She rushes forward, grabbing my hand. Her palms are damp. Riley, please, she sobs. He is your father. You cannot send him to jail. You cannot let them take him away. Think about the family. I look down at my mother. I feel a flicker of the old guilt, the old programming that told me to protect her at all costs. But I look at the shawl wrapped around my shoulders, my armor, and I crush that feeling. I am the one keeping him out of jail. Mom, I say. My voice is flat. You stayed silent for years. You watched him break the law. And you watched him break me. And you said nothing because you liked the lifestyle. I am offering you a way out. It is a narrow road, but it is the only one you have left. It is too much, she weeps. It is cruel. It is justice, I say. And frankly, it is more mercy than either of you deserve. What about me? Madison pushes past Elise. Her face is a mess of splotchy red anger. She is not crying for her father. She is doing mental math. If you take the company, what happens to my shares? Madison demands. I am an heir. I have rights. You cannot just cut me out of the inheritance. I look at my sister. She is standing in a dress that cost $20,000, at a wedding that cost $1 million, demanding more. It is almost funny. You already got your inheritance, Madison, I say. What? She snaps. The law school tuition, I list. The Range Rover, the condo downtown, this wedding, the ghostwriter, the settlements to keep you out of trouble. I step closer to her. Dad emptied the company accounts to pay for you. You are the reason the company is broke. You spent your inheritance before you even inherited it. You have nothing left to claim. That is not fair, Madison screams, stamping her foot like a child. I am the loyal one. I stayed. You stayed because he paid you to stay, I say. From now on, the bank of Dad is closed. If you want money, get a job. I hear the ghostwriter market is booming. Madison recoils as if I slapped her. She looks around for Preston, but Preston is standing 10 feet away, looking at his phone, probably searching for annulment lawyers. I turn back to Leonard. Well, do we have a deal? Or does Noah make the call? Leonard's face twists. He looks at the helicopter. He looks at the cold, hard eyes of the son-in-law he mocked an hour ago. He looks at the evidence on the screen. Never, Leonard growls. I will not give it up. I will fight you in court. I will... Call them, Noah says. He pulls his phone out of his pocket. He taps the screen once. Get the legal team on the line and call the district attorney's office. Tell them we have a priority tip regarding corporate fraud. No! Leonard shouts. The defiance crumbles instantly. He holds up his hands, shaking. No, don't call. Hang up. Noah pauses. his thumb hovering over the screen. He raises an eyebrow at me. "I will sign," Leonard gasps. He looks like he has aged 20 years in 20 seconds. "I will sign the papers. I will resign. Just don't make the call." He looks at Elise, who is sobbing into her hands. Leonard's expression softens for a fraction of a second. It is the only human thing I have seen him do all night. "One condition," Leonard says. His voice is a whisper. "I am listening," I say. "You promise," he says, swallowing hard. "You promise that as long as I do what you say, you never mention the word prison in front of your mother again. You let her live in the house. You let her keep her dignity." I look at Elise. She is broken. Taking the house would be petty. I don't want their house. I want their power. "I agree," I say. "Mom stays in the house, and as long as you cooperate, I will not actively push for prosecution. But listen to me carefully. Dad, if the authorities come on their own, because of what you have already done, I will not lie for you. I will not go to jail for you. I am not your shield anymore." Leonard nods. It is a jerky, mechanical motion. "Fine, fine." "Good," I say. I look at Noah. "Do we have the papers?" "My lawyer is printing them in the mobile office on the chopper right now," Noah says. "But we can use the library inside. It seems appropriate." "The library," I repeat. "The room where Leonard told me he wouldn't pay for my studio. The room where he rejected me." "Let's go," I say. I turn to the crowd one last time. "Enjoy the cake," I say. "I believe it is paid for." I wrap my shawl tighter around myself and walk toward the French doors. I do not wait for them. I hear the shuffling of feet behind me as Leonard, Elise, and a shell-shocked Madison follow. Noah walks beside me, his hand resting lightly on my back. We are leaving the garden, we are going to the table, and this time, I am sitting at the head. The library of the Ashford estate has always smelled of lemon polish and unread leather-bound books. It was a room designed for photo opportunities, not for reading. Tonight, however, it smells of ozone from the portable laser printer Noah's lawyer has set up on the sidebar, and the sour, metallic scent of fear. The room is dim, lit only by the green glass banker's lamps on the massive mahogany desk. The heavy velvet curtains are drawn, shutting out the garden, the confused guests, and the ruin of the wedding reception. In here, the world has shrunk down to the scratch of a fountain pen on heavy bond paper. I stand by the fireplace, watching. The fire is not lit, but the ashes from the last winter are still in the grate, cold and gray. Leonard sits at the head of the desk. He looks smaller than I have ever seen him. The broad shoulders that used to fill his Italian suits seem to have collapsed inward. He is holding a Mont Blanc pen, but his hand is shaking so violently that he has to grip his right wrist with his left hand just to steady the tip against the paper. "Sign here," Mr. Vance, Noah's lead counsel, says softly. He points to a line on the document with a manicured finger. "An initial here for the transfer of the Class A voting shares." Leonard hesitates. The pen hovers over the paper. This is not just a signature. It is an amputation. He is cutting off the limb that defined his entire existence. For 40 years, he was the Ashford Urban Group. Without it, he is just an old man with a pending investigation and a bank account that is about to be frozen. He looks up at me. His eyes are red-rimmed, swimming with a mixture of hatred and a strange, bewildered realization. It is the look of a man who kicked a dog for years and is genuinely shocked when it finally bites back. "Riley," he croaks, "you do not know what you are taking on. The debt structure, the unions." "I know exactly what I'm taking on. Dad," I say from the shadows near the hearth. "I read the books. I know about the leverage. I know about the hollowed-out pension fund. Sign it." He looks at Noah, who is leaning against the doorframe, checking his watch. Noah does not look up. His silence is more terrifying than any threat. Leonard looks back at the paper. He presses the pen down. The sound is loud in the quiet room. A harsh scratch. He signs Leonard Ashford. Then he slumps back in the leather chair, the pen rolling out of his fingers and clattering onto the wood. Mrs. Ashford, Mr. Vance says, sliding a fresh stack of documents toward my mother. Elise is sitting in one of the guest chairs, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She looks at the papers. These are the transfer documents for her spousal shares, the ones that give her joint control. She picks up the pen. She reads the header, Transfer of Ownership to Riley Monroe Ashford. She pauses. Her lips move silently as she reads my name. Monroe, my married name, the name I chose, the name that has nothing to do with them. It is all going to you, she whispers. Everything we built. Everything you broke, I correct her gently. I am just picking up the pieces. She looks at Leonard, then at me. For the first time, she seems to understand the shift in gravity, the money, the influence, the protection. It is no longer emanating from the man sitting next to her. It is coming from the daughter she spent 3 decades trying to mold into someone else. She signs. Her signature is loopy and decorative, a relic of a time when her only job was to write thank you notes for charity galas. Mr. Vance gathers the papers. He organizes them into a neat stack, taps them on the desk to align the edges, and places them in a leather folder. The transfer is immediate, the lawyer says, his voice devoid of emotion. We will file the electronic updates with the Secretary of State within the hour. As of this moment, Riley Monroe Ashford is the majority shareholder and interim CEO of the entity formerly known as Ashford Urban Group. He hands the folder to me. I take it. I expect to feel a surge of triumph. I expect to feel the thrill of victory, the vindication of the underdog. But as I hold the heavy folder, I only feel weight. This is not a prize. It is a burden. Inside this folder are thousands of safety violations, millions of dollars in debt, and the moral obligation to fix the homes of people who have no idea their ceilings might collapse. I am not inheriting a kingdom. I am inheriting a disaster zone. But it is my disaster now, and I will clean it up. Are we done? Leonard asks. His voice is hollow. Can I go to my room? Not yet, I say. I look toward the corner of the library. Madison is sitting on a low ottoman, her face streaked with mascara, picking at a loose thread on her $20,000 couture gown. She has been silent during the signing, watching the power drain out of her parents and flow into me. She stands up now. Her movements are jerky, desperate. She walks toward me, wringing her hands. Riley, she says. Her voice is trembling. Okay, you won. You run the company. Fine. She takes a breath, trying to summon the old entitlement, but it falters. So, what is the plan for me? I mean, I know things are going to change, but I can help. I can be the vice president of communications, or a liaison. I need a position. Riley, something on paper, the Hales. If this marriage is going to survive, I need to bring something to the table. I cannot be unemployed. I look at her, even now, standing in the wreckage of her family's fraud. She is worried about her job title. She is worried about how she looks to the Hales. There is no position for you, Madison, I say. She blinks. What? The Ashford Urban Group is being dissolved, I explain calmly. The new company, Ashford Heritage Renewal, will have a strict hiring policy. We check credentials, we check references, and we do not hire people with a history of academic fraud or plagiarism. But I am your sister, she cries, her voice rising to a shriek. You cannot just cut me out. I have rights. I am family. You were family when you watched Dad push me into the fountain, I say. You were family when you threatened to ruin my career to save your wedding. You do not get to play the sister card only when you need a paycheck. So what am I supposed to do, she wails. I have a mortgage. I have lease payments. I have nothing. You have a law degree, I say. Use it or don't. That is not my problem anymore. I reach into my clutch purse. I pull out a plain white envelope. I have been carrying it around for 2 days, waiting for the right moment. I place the envelope on the desk, sliding it across the polished mahogany until it rests in front of Madison. She looks at it, sniffing. What is this? Open it, I say. She tears it open with shaking fingers. She pulls out a cashier's check. She stares at the number. $28,450. She reads. She looks up, confused. What is this? Severance? That is the exact amount, I say, my voice steady. That was in my graduate school scholarship fund 10 years ago, the fund I worked 3 jobs to save for. Elise gasps from her chair. She remembers. That is the money Mom and Dad drained from my account without asking me, I continue, to pay for the lawyer and the settlement when you got that DUI in your sophomore year, the one they told everyone was a parking dispute. Madison's face pales. She remembers, too. She just never thought I knew. I had to take out high-interest student loans because of that, I say. I spent 5 years paying off the debt for your mistake while you drove a new car. I never asked for it back. I never threw it in your face. I point to the check. That is me paying you back for the silence. That is the balance settled. Every cent, adjusting for inflation. Riley, please, Madison sobs, clutching the check. Is this a second chance? Can I use this to start over? No, I say softly. That is not a start. That is an end. I look her in the eyes. That is the moment everything becomes fair. We are even now. Madison, I do not owe you protection. You do not owe me lies. From this moment on, your road does not cross with mine. You are on your own. You cannot do this, she screams, grabbing my arm. The Hales are outside. They are going to leave me. At least let me tell them we are partners. Let me tell them I am helping you fix the company. Give me a story to save my marriage. I gently pry her fingers off my arm. I do not shove her. I do not yell. I just remove her grip, finger by finger. I cannot control what the Hales think. Madison, I say. They saw the files. They saw the truth. For the first time in your life, you are going to have to survive on who you actually are, not who Dad pays people to say you are. I step back. Noah steps forward, offering me his arm. We are done here, I say to the room. I look at Leonard, slumped in his chair, staring at the wall. I look at Elise, weeping silently into a handkerchief. I look at Madison, holding the check that represents the price of my youth. I turn around. I walk out of the library. Noah walks beside me, his footsteps heavy and solid on the floorboards. We walk down the long hallway lined with oil paintings of Texas landscapes, paintings Elise bought to prove she had taste, paintings that were likely bought with money meant for safety inspections. I used to walk down this hallway with my head down, trying to be invisible, trying to get to the door before anyone could criticize my outfit or my choices. I used to run down this hallway in tears. Tonight, I walk slowly. I hear the sound of my own heels clicking on the hardwood. It is a sharp, authoritative sound. I reach the front door. The heavy oak panels that have always felt like the bars of a cage now just look like wood. I reach out and turn the handle. I open the door to the night air. The humidity hits me, but it feels fresh. It feels clean. I step out onto the front porch, leaving the Ashford estate behind me, not as the daughter who was kicked out, but as the woman who decided to leave. 3 months later, the sun over Austin hits the glass facade of the building on Congress Avenue, but it does not glare, it gleams. The old headquarters of the Ashford Urban Group used to look like a fortress. It was a brutalist block of heavy gray concrete, designed to keep people out, designed to look imposing and impenetrable. It was a building that said, "We are better than you." Today, that concrete is gone. We stripped the facade down to the steel bones. We replaced the heavy masonry with floor-to-ceiling recycled glass and reclaimed brick from the very warehouses we are currently restoring in the industrial district. The lobby is no longer a security checkpoint. It is an open-concept atrium filled with native Texas plants and exhibits on urban history. Above the entrance, the new signage catches the light. It is not gold. It is not flashy. It is brushed steel. Clean and permanent. Ashford Heritage Renewal. I stand backstage, adjusting the microphone pack clipped to the waistband of my trousers. I am not wearing a ball gown. I am not wearing the kind of stiff, armor-like power suit my father used to force me to wear for family portraits. I am wearing a simple, tailored navy suit and a white silk blouse. My hair is loose, my face is clean. Ready, boss? I turn. It is not Noah. It is my new operations director, a woman named Sarah, who I hired away from the city planning office because she actually cares about structural density more than profit margins. I am ready, I say. I walk out onto the stage. The atrium is packed. There are cameras from the local news stations and a live stream setup broadcasting to the global business networks. There are city council members in the front row. There are representatives from the tenants associations of the buildings we are fixing, and while scattered throughout the room, there are investors, the ones who decided to stay, the ones who believe in the new mission. I step up to the podium. I do not need note cards. I know exactly what I'm here to say. For 30 years, I begin, my voice echoing clearly through the high-ceilinged space. The name Ashford was synonymous with expansion. We built higher, we built faster, we built for the skyline. I pause, looking out at the sea of faces. But in the rush to touch the sky, we forgot about the foundation, I continue. We forgot that a building is not just an asset on a spreadsheet. It is a home. It is a place where people sleep, where they raise their children, where they trust that the roof over their heads is safe. I press a button on the remote. The screen behind me lights up. It does not show a stock graph. It shows a blueprint of the Westlake Tower, the project that almost ruined me, and the project that started this revolution. This is the Westlake retrofit plan, I say. Starting next week, Ashford Heritage Renewal is deploying structural teams to reinforce the support grid. We are not doing this because the city ordered us to. We are doing it because it is the right thing to do. We are releasing all our internal safety audits to the public. Radical transparency is no longer an option for this company. It is our operating system. A murmur goes through the room. I see Richard Hale sitting in the third row. He is no longer in the VIP section. There is no VIP section. He is squeezed in between a journalist from the Austin Chronicle and a community organizer. Richard looks older. He looks tired. He's clapping. But his hands move slowly. He meets my eyes, and he nods. A stiff, reluctant acknowledgement. He knows that the days of handshake deals on the golf course are over. If he wants to bid on our logistics contracts, he will have to submit a proposal through the public portal like everyone else. We are no longer in the business of just building, I conclude. We are in the business of fixing. We are restoring the trust we broke. One brick at a time. Thank you. The applause is not the polite, terrified applause of the garden party. It is loud. It is genuine. It sounds like approval, not obligation. I walk off the stage, my heart beating a steady, calm rhythm against my ribs. The adrenaline is different now. It is not the fight or flight panic of the wedding. It is the fuel of work well done. I navigate through the crowd, shaking hands, accepting congratulations, but keeping moving. I need a moment of air. I head toward the back of the atrium, near the employee break area. A figure is standing there, waiting for me. He is wearing a light blue button-down shirt, the sleeves rolled up to the elbows, and khaki trousers. He is not wearing a tie. Around his neck hangs a blue lanyard with a plastic ID card that reads, Leonard Ashford, Project Manager. My father holds 2 paper coffee cups in a cardboard carrier. He looks at me. He looks at the suit I am wearing. He looks at the way the room is buzzing with an energy he never managed to create in 4 decades of tyranny. He steps forward, his posture slightly stooped. The arrogance that used to make him seem 7 feet tall is gone, replaced by the weary reality of a man who is 65 years old and learning how to use project management software for the first time. I brought you the dark roast, Leonard says. His voice is quiet. I know you have back-to-back meetings with the zoning board this afternoon. He holds out the cup. I look at his hands. They are working hands now. There is a smudge of ink on his thumb. He has spent the last 3 months overseeing the logistics of the retrofit crews. I didn't fire him. I demoted him. I gave him a choice. Retire and be forgotten, or work for me and earn his redemption. To my surprise, He chose the work. I take the coffee. Thank you. Leonard shifts his weight. He looks out at the atrium, at the giant logo on the wall. I didn't think you could do it, he admits. He doesn't look at me. He stares at the floor. When you sat in that library and took the company, I thought you would crash it in a month. I thought you were just angry. I was angry, I say. I know, he says. He finally looks up. His eyes are watery. You were better than me, Riley. All those years, I thought you were the weak one because you cared about the details, because you cared about the art of it. I was wrong. You were the only one of us who was actually building something real. It is the apology I waited 32 years to hear. I stand there, holding the warm paper cup. Part of me wants to cry. Part of me wants to scream that it is too little, too late. But the woman running this company doesn't have time for melodrama. I do not hug him. I do not tell him that everything is forgiven. The scars from the fountain, from the years of neglect, are still there. They do not vanish just because he brought me coffee. The zoning meeting starts in 20 minutes, I say. Make sure the blueprints for the East Side complex are on the server. They are already there, Leonard says. I uploaded them myself. Good, I say. I take a sip of the coffee. Thank you for being on time, Leonard. He nods. He understands the tone. We are not father and daughter right now. We are colleagues. And for now, that is enough. I walk past him, heading toward the glass elevators. Through the glass wall of the reception area, I see the front desk. There is a line of people, mostly elderly tenants from one of our older buildings who have questions about the new renovation schedule. Sitting behind the desk is Elise. She is wearing reading glasses and a sensible cardigan. Her name tag reads, Elise Ashford, Tenant Liaison. She is holding the hand of an old woman, pointing to something on a brochure, explaining the temporary housing options while the repairs are being done. She is smiling. It is not the frozen, Botox-strained smile she used to wear at her cocktail parties. It is a soft, genuine smile. She looks tired, but she looks useful. She looks up as I walk by. Our eyes meet through the glass. She gives me a small, shy wave. It is a gesture of respect. She is no longer the queen of the manor. She is a woman earning a paycheck, and strangely, she looks happier than I have ever seen her. I nod back, a simple inclination of my head. We are working. We are fixing things. The elevator doors open, and I step inside. Hold the door! A hand blocks the sensor. Noah slips inside just as the doors are closing. He is grinning, looking entirely too handsome in his suit, though he has loosened his tie. Nice speech, he says, leaning against the mirrored wall as the elevator shoots upward. I think Richard Hale actually sweated through his jacket. He will survive, I say. He just signed a lease for 2 floors in the North Tower. Of course he did. Noah laughs. He knows a winner when he sees one. He reaches out and pulls me into him. I let myself relax against his chest, the tension finally draining out of my shoulders. How is the fund? I ask. Overwhelming, Noah says, his voice turning serious. The Black Sheep Initiative. We have received 4,000 applications in the last week alone. Kids who were cut off for choosing art school. Kids who were disowned for who they love. Kids who were scapegoated like you were. We are fully funded for the first round of scholarships. He kisses the top of my head. You started a movement. Riley, people are telling their stories. They are realizing they do not have to accept the role their families wrote for them. I didn't want to be a movement, I murmur. I just wanted to not be drowned. Well, Noah says as the elevator dings at the top floor, you are definitely swimming now. We step out onto the roof deck. The Texas heat hits us, but up here, 20 stories above the street, there is a breeze. The view is spectacular. The Colorado River winds through the city like a silver ribbon. The construction cranes dotting the skyline look like giant mechanical birds. I walk to the edge of the glass railing. I look down. From here, the people on the street are just specks. The cars are toys. But I know that down there, in the foundation of this building, the steel is holding. The concrete is solid. The rot has been cut out. I think about Madison. I heard she moved to Dallas. I heard she is working as a junior associate at a mid-sized firm, actually reading the cases she is assigned. I haven't spoken to her. I don't need to. She is living her life, and I am living mine. And the silence between us is the most peaceful thing I own. I think about the fountain. I think about the cold water closing over my head. I think about the laughter. Noah comes up beside me, resting his hands on the railing, looking out at the city we are rebuilding together. "What are you thinking about?" he asks softly. I look at the horizon, where the sun is blazing, turning the whole world gold. The night they laughed when I walked into the wedding alone, they thought they had drowned me, I say, my voice steady and strong against the wind. They didn't know that the cold water that day was exactly what was needed to water the seed they had ignored for years, and today, it has grown right through the foundation of the legacy they thought they would hold forever. Thank you so much for listening to Riley's story. If you have ever felt like the outsider in your own family, or if you are fighting to build your own path, I want to hear from you. Please comment below where you are tuning in from so we can share our thoughts together. Make sure to subscribe to Lila Revenge Stories, like this video, and hit that hype button so this story can reach even more people who need to hear that their time to rise is coming.